What's up, Archons? I'm Flightless Pheasant, and today I want to take a little bit of trip into theory territory as we talk about some things that we might see in the upcoming Prophetic Vision set, specifically focusing on the newest house, House Redemption. But before we get into all of that, I'm a huge fan of KeyForge, and if you are too, then please like, subscribe, and hit the bell, as I'll be bringing you even more lore from KeyForge and the Crucible. Okay, so today I want to talk a little bit about House Redemption, and kind of a little bit about what we might expect to see in the upcoming set Prophetic Visions. So, as a little bit of background, for those of you who may not know, House Redemption is an offshoot of House Sanctum that split off from the main group during the events of the Mass Mutation arc of the KeyForge story. That arc had a lot of things going on in it, but it did introduce a whole bunch of Dark Amber mutants, some of which have now converted to House Redemption and are serving alongside the estranged members of House Sanctum and the Order of the Red Shroud in their crusade to purge all remaining mutants from the Crucible in order to ensure that something like the Dark Amber Vault's unsealing can never happen again. Now, when I was going through the card list, I found it really interesting which mutants from Mass Mutation got reprinted into House Redemption and which ones didn't. And it got me thinking, is there a trend between those who did and those who didn't? And can we use lore explanations to explain which ones we might see in the future and which ones we won't see in the future, or at least are very unlikely to see? As I do expect that they're probably going to reprint a few more of these into House Redemption than just the ones we saw in the Tokens of Change set. So with that in mind, I kind of wanted to go through all the Dark Amber mutants in the Mass Mutation set to determine if we think they will be reprinted, or see if they already have, in House Redemption, or if we think that they won't be joining House Redemption, will stick with their original houses, and will try to not get purged in the Great Mutant Cleansing. Are you ready? Let's do it. So a little bit of bookkeeping before we get started. So we won't be going over individually the combo mutants, that is to say the ones like Sacro Fiend or Sacro Bot. We're just going to kind of assume that they're all lumped in together, and as we saw in the Tokens of Change set, any mutant that had the Sacro prefix did end up getting reprinted into House Redemption. So we're just going to assume that anybody who got infused with Sanctum energy, no matter what house they came from, felt the call of House Redemption and ended up joining them in their crusade, so that we don't have to go over them individually. Also, I will be including as candidates any Dark Amber mutants who were added during the More Mutation set that did not exist during the Mass Mutation set, but I will not include any Gigantics, even if they were in the original Mass Mutation set. I don't think Gigantics are coming back, so we're just going to jump right over them and focus on the ones we might actually see. One other thing, there's going to be a trend as we go through this. I've basically established two criteria in order for a creature to be reprinted into House Redemption as a member of the house. Those two criteria are, first and foremost, they have to be a thinking being. That is to say, they can't be a beast or a monster or some kind of unintelligent construct. They have to be a thinking being that is capable of high-order thought and can join the crusade. The second is they actually have to want to join the crusade either out of survival instinct or a desire for a cure. Or I suppose because they want to kill all of the Dark Amber mutants. Those are our two criteria. They have to want to join, and they have to be a thinking being. They can't be a beast or a monster. Alright, with that out of the way, we'll start through this. So I'm going to kind of go house by house from Mass Mutation, but I'm going to kind of skip around because there's some things that I want to talk about first and some things I want to talk about later, so we'll do it this way. So first off, we're going to talk about House Sanctum. Since Sanctum is the house from which Redemption offshoots, it seems like the logical place to start. So in the original Mass Mutation set, there were two Dark Amber mutants that were not combo mutants in House Sanctum, those being Bulwark and Scrivener Fabian, both of whom did get reprinted into House Redemption. And I think this isn't surprising, right? Just about every Dark Amber mutant in House Sanctum was an unwilling mutant who definitely did not want the mutation and would be more than happy to see themselves cured, or at the very least join the crusade to purge all of the remaining Dark Amber mutants from the Crucible. In the same vein, I think it's absolutely guaranteed that Grey Aberrant, which is the mutant that was added for the More Mutation set, will almost certainly get reprinted into House Redemption. Whether or not it'll be in Prophetic Visions, it's hard to say, but I'd put my money on yes, that we will see Grey Aberrant with a gold and red border before the end of this year. The next one I want to talk about is House Saurian, because I think this is another house where you're going to see a lot of converts to House Redemption, particularly because the Saurus don't really think very highly of mutations because they believe themselves to already be perfect, which means most Saurus who receive a Dark Amber mutation will want to get rid of it. We can see this with 2 out of the 3 original mutants that were printed in Mass Mutation, being Citizen Shrix and Dark Centurion, both of whom ended up in House Redemption when Tokens of Change came around. Gladiodontus didn't, and I don't think he will either, because he doesn't meet our thinking being criteria. I believe this criteria is important because I think any non-thinking mutant that House Redemption encounters, they're just going to kill. I don't think they're even going to bother trying to make them into war beasts or anything. They're just going to purge them out and keep moving. But that does leave us with the new mutant who was added in More Mutation, Sarah Severa, who, a lot like Grey Aberrant, I believe is definitely going to find its way into House Redemption before very long, possibly as soon as Prophetic Visions, for the same reasons that Citizen Shrix and Dark Centurion. The Saurus do not appreciate being mutated as they view themselves as perfect. So next we're going to talk about the mutants in House Logos. So in House Logos, I think it's important to separate the mutants into 2 categories. You have researchers who researched Dark Amber and became mutated, and you have their experiments that were experimented on with Dark Amber. So several of the researchers have already decided to join House Redemption as they're not happy in their new mutated bodies. These would be Even Ivan, Odd Claude, and Professor Torado, all 3 of which did get reprinted as members of House Redemption. And when it comes to the experiments, none of those got reprinted, and I don't think they're going to. I think they fall into the unthinking being category. For those, we have Adaptoid, Cyberclone, Cronus, Infomorph, and Munchling, all of which, as experiments that are not themselves thinking beings, probably will never end up in House Redemption. But that does leave us with a couple of researchers who we have not discussed yet and have not yet been reprinted. Most notably, Bot Bookton is a researcher, not a research subject, that did not get reprinted in House Redemption, and I don't think she's going to be. I think this is our first example of someone who's perfectly happy with the Dark Amber mutation they've received, and just wants to stay the way they are. We'll see a few more of these in some other houses, but yeah, I think Bot Bookton is totally happy to be combined between Doc Bookton and Helper Bot, just like she always wanted. So that just leaves us with Grafton, the new mutant that was added in the More Mutation set. And when it comes to this one, I'm a little bit torn, but I tend to lean on the side of that this one probably will end up getting reprinted into House Redemption, as I imagine that while the experiments were interesting, he probably doesn't want to spend his entire life as a Dark Amber mutant, and especially if the Crusade reaches him and gives him the join or die incentive, he'll choose join over die. From Logos, we'll move to Shadows. Now, all of the mutants in House Shadows are thinking beings, which is good to start with. But I think it's important to remember that House Shadows is all about power and survival. Those are the 2 things they value more than anything else. And so I think when it comes to talking about the mutants in House Shadows, we need to think about which ones gained enough power that they believe their survival is guaranteed, even if the Crusade reaches them. We've seen a couple of converts from House Shadows already. Subtle Otto and Johnny Longfingers have both already been reprinted into House Redemption, but I think this is less indicative of their desire to be cured and more indicative of their desire to not be killed as part of the mutant purge. In this vein, I think Spare Arm Carmine and Splinter are very likely to end up getting reprinted into House Redemption, as they didn't really receive enough power to be safe from the Crusade should it come to their doorstep. This only leaves a few people left, and Radpenny's in a weird place for me. I feel like she's very happy with the mutations that she received and would likely try to avoid the Crusade as long as possible, but if cornered and given the choice, join or die, I think she would definitely choose join. So we might see her in the future, but I'd kind of hope not. And the last 2 mutants we have to talk about are the Shadowsmith and Boss Zarek. Now this is where power comes into play. I believe the Shadowsmith and Boss Zarek both feel like they received enough power from their Dark Amber mutations, or just their positions within House Shadows, to believe that they are safe from the Crusade, at least for now, and feel no need to join in the redemption. So I don't think we will see them anytime in the near future. So now we enter into the houses where I think converts are going to be few and far between. I want to start this section off with House Dis because I really don't think it's very likely that any members of House Dis are going to join House Redemption, but with that being said, one of them already did. Snerette has apparently overcome its demonic nature in order to join House Redemption and seek a path of, well, redemption. However, I believe that most of the remaining mutants in House Dis are perfectly happy where they are, so I don't think we're going to see Dark Minion, Hystricog, Maleficorn, or Scathe in House Redemption anytime in the near future. Now that does leave us with one other Dark Amber mutant, and since they already decided to reprint Snerette into House Redemption, I really did want to see if there was any of the other mutants in House Dis that felt like they might fit, and the only one I came up with is Picaroon, who seems like it might have gained an inkling of some other understanding of the world outside of House Dis's understanding through its ability to absorb the strength of those around it, and the Changeling trait makes me think maybe it can shapeshift and experience new experiences. But I think this is still a stretch. In my heart of hearts, I think even Picaroon's not going to be reprinted in House Redemption anytime soon. So the next house we're going to talk about is House Star Alliance. And Star Alliance is notorious for being an open and welcoming group of people who take in just about anyone, which means most of the mutants in their care are pretty unlikely to feel alienated enough to need to join a radical crusade. In fact, Ambassador Liu, Commander Drixgar, Gunnery Sergeant Margot, Lieutenant Commander Trigon, and Ensign El Samara all have ranks within House Star Alliance, making them very unlikely to want to leave and give up their position among friends and family. However, even with that in mind, I do think there are a couple of mutants in House Sanctum who might actually change to join House Redemption. First, I think Mutagenis Researcher might find their research being put to better use by House Redemption than even House Star Alliance could, especially now that the Dark Amber Vault has been sealed and, subsequently, their access to research material very much limited. And the other is Subject Kirby. Believe it or not, I think Subject Kirby might actually get reprinted in House Redemption because, well, nobody likes being a test subject, especially one who gets shut away in a secret research facility under a mountain, and if somehow House Redemption is able to get him out, either with the help of Mutagenis Researcher or someone else within House Star Alliance who is sympathetic to their cause, then I think he might find actually that he's quite happy to work with House Redemption in the future. So the last house we're going to talk about is House Untamed, and I saved this one for last for a couple of reasons, but one of them is it's got several creatures that are not thinking beings that we can just throw right out. Those being Cephaloist, Chonkers, Rocketeel, and Pismire. All of these are not thinking beings, and therefore do not meet our criteria for joining House Redemption. There is kind of a borderline case with Trimble. If Trimble is a thinking being, I have a feeling it will get reprinted in House Redemption, but I want to put it in the non-thinking being category, so I think this one is also out of the running. So before we talk about the thinking beings in House Untamed, we have to remember that House Untamed is a house that sort of just accepts the flow of nature and has always embraced amber in its designs much more than most other houses. You can see this in many of the card arts across House Untamed, with many of the creatures having prominent amber protrusions from their bodies. And even during the Dark Amber crisis, they were not really opposed to the spread of Dark Amber. In fact, Fandangle and Dark Harbinger are even seen to enjoy or spread Dark Amber across the Crucible. For that reason, I think neither of them are going to get reprinted in House Redemption at any point. That just leaves us with Dark Queen Gloriana, Dark Fairy, and Gloriana's Attendants. None of which I think are going to get reprinted into House Redemption because I think Dark Queen Gloriana is quite happy with the Dark Amber mutation that she has received and has spread it to her fairies, which, if there's any major hurdle that House Redemption's going to have to overcome, it's going to be the intentional spread of Dark Amber by Dark Queen Gloriana and by the other members of House Untamed. So I don't think they've got any allies here, and I don't think they're going to get any anytime in the future. So there you have it. my predictions for which mutants we're likely to see get reprinted into House Redemption, in Prophetic Visions, or at some point in the future. If you think that I was wrong about any of them, or you have any thoughts of your own, put them down in the comments and I'd love to hear from you guys. It was really fun to dig through all the Dark Amber mutants and think about which ones had motivations that might lead them to join House Redemption, and also to think about those who had already joined and what might have brought them to the table in the first place. I really enjoyed doing this video, and I had a lot of fun with it, so I'm probably going to do some more theory crafting stuff in the future, but put your thoughts down in the comments, and that's all I have for you today. So until next time, later, Archons.